they have come to me privately, so you may not be able to read it. One says, I describe the three-in-one principles of the existence of things that come into existence in the universe. So this this term three-in-one is in some of my articles and books. So maybe he has read it. That's why he has used this term. So I will try to explain it. I just now mentioned like a carpenter makes this desk out of wood for it. So suppose I enter into a hall or in a room and I see a desk for the first time. Suppose we are all familiar with this thing. We enter into a new setting and we see a wooden desk. One that is called in our Nyaya Darshan, which is philosophy of logic, it is an effect. The Sanskrit term is kayan and kaya. Kaya here is not what is that kayala, the work, it is an effect, and kayan is the cause. So something which was not existent forever, and one particular time it comes into existence, then we say it is an effect. And then naturally there is an inquiry, what was its cause? How did it come into existence? That any scientist is always doing it. If some event is taking place, is ongoing, or it has already taken place, like an apple has fallen on the ground, or a scientist sees that apple is falling on the ground, whatever it is, that is an event, and then he asks, what is the cause of it? That leads him to, in physics, what we call the gravitational law of the force. Towards the center of the earth is pulling everything. And that gives rise to anything we throw up, finally it begins to fall down. So coming back to this wooden desk, this is a scientific inquiry. How did it come into existence? And we use it every moment, in our day-to-day functioning. So here we know from our experience that it couldn't have been come into existence by itself. A human being has made it. We give a name to a particular human being. We say a carpenter. Though I didn't see the carpenter making that particular desk, is it not? But I talk as if I am 100% confident. And I say, there has to be a human being who must have made it, is it not? So there is a cause of that effect, namely a human being, and just for our purpose, we give him a name, a carpenter. But then we know it, a carpenter sitting alone in his workshop, he cannot make desk just out of nothing. So he has to have some pieces of wood or a log of wood and make some pieces out of it. And then he transforms that into wooden desk, is it not? So we say there is not one cause, there is another cause, namely a wood or pieces of wood. So then we modify our statement. We say that a carpenter made this desk out of pieces of wood. Now we say that, but why would he make it? Nobody makes it something just for the fun of it. There has to be some motivation in his mind, something in his mind. So then we say that, okay, the owner of this house placed an order. He placed an order to the carpenter that, look, I want such a such desk. And then carpenter gets going, and then he assembles the pieces and does a lot of labor, and then he delivers the desk to that carpenter, the beneficiary. So basically, and then this is also not total story. A carpenter, somebody will say, has to have certain essential tools. He has to act upon that wood using his hands, feet, and all that, and certain tools. So he has to act upon it, and not just merely his hands. He needs certain tools. He needs some space and time and many things. Somebody can list it. But when the question was asked about three in one principle, we are going to discuss these three things, namely the carpenter, the wood, and the end user, who is the beneficiary. Is it not? They have a name. The carpenter is called as nimitta karan, or in English we say efficient cause or agental cause. The wood is called as material cause. In Sanskrit term is upadan karan. Then this beneficiary, the who is going to use it, he is the end user, is it not? And here we notice there is some correlation. The correlation comes from, in our view, that is the Vedic perspective. In Vedic perspective, there are two kinds of things in the universe. The things are made of matter and they don't have consciousness, like this wooden desk. Even though I hit it, it doesn't make any complaint. But if somebody hits me, I will feel the pain and I won't like it, because I am conscious being, and the desk is void of consciousness, is it not? So in Vedic terminology, consciousness is an attribute of some entity which is non-physical, non-material, is it not? Because from the Vedic philosopher's point of view, so many material things, infinite things around us, they lack consciousness. They don't exhibit consciousness. So they make a very axiomatic statement that matter does not possess consciousness. So consciousness must be inherent attribute of something which is non-material. So that is called as anilam. It is non-material. It doesn't have any matter. So think of us as we have something, a point-like entity, which is like this light is giving physical light. That thing is emitting light of consciousness. So I can wave my hands, I can speak and do all sorts of things, is it not? So now coming to that consciousness, it has three powers, extraordinary powers. That is called as ability to know, and ability to experience an event, and ability to act upon its surroundings. That is called as jnana, bhog, and karma. But of course, it has these three powers, yet it cannot exhibit these powers without the instruments of body and mind, is it not? So you know it, we are always engaged in these functions, at least when we are awake, getting to know surroundings, where we are through our five senses, and then feel them. That takes us through a wide spectrum of joy and pain, or sometimes we are just inert, but we can feel the thing, is it not? If my daughter walks into this room, I will feel good, is it not? So we just not get to know. I just don't see her. A camera could also see her, but I have a feeling, is it not? And I get to know her. Camera can merely put an image of it, but is not quite a knower, is it not? Like a book has all the words. This is a book in my hand. It has all the words, and those words have knowledge. But nobody will say the book has the knowledge, is it not? If I read the book, I gain knowledge, is it not? So my ability to know, my ability to feel and experience, and then I act upon my surroundings, usually to get away from pain, and if possible, go towards pleasures of life, is it not? So these are my three extraordinary powers, and I use my body and mind in exercise of these powers. Now coming back to these three causes, carpenter has to be a conscious being because he has to have a blueprint, a design in his mind, what he is planning to make, a wooden desk, is it not? So he has to be an intelligent human being with knowledge. So, of course, this agental cause, the efficient cause, is always a conscious being, and not merely with the knowledge, he also has the ability to act upon wood. So, he has knowledge and action both, is it not? So, it has to be a conscious being. The material cause is matter, wood is void of consciousness, and the beneficiary always has to be a conscious being because he can enjoy that desk, is it not? He will feel good when he uses that desk, is it not? So we have seen there behind any effect, man-made world at least, that is what a desk is representing. There have to be three causes minimum plus some additional ordinary causes like tools and space and time. They are nevertheless present in all cases. But the peculiar causes are the efficient cause who has to be a intelligent human being who has the knowledge and action. Then there has to be material cause and there has to be an end user who is also a conscious being. So sometimes when the carpenter makes a chair for himself, or a bird for that example makes a nest for itself, is it not? But nevertheless, bird is an efficient cause of that particular nest, and bird itself is the end user. A carpenter may make a dog house out of wood, is it not? Where the end user is a dog who is also an intelligent and a conscious being. So this is what Vedic rishis noticed. And then they formulated, then they extended this inquiry, like in any scientific thing. Certain things are out of our beyond, like how did this sun or earth come into existence? Of course, it all happened before we came in this world, is it not? So the Vedic rishi is then trying to make a scientific inquiry about the natural world, the earth, the sun, the moon, the galaxies, and the plants and trees and air and water, rivers and mountains, all that exists, which we are very confident human beings are not capable of making. So then he extrapolates this, what he learns from the man-made objects, he extrapolates it to the natural world because that's only he can do it. He has nothing better than that. Then he says that this universe as a whole is made for our benefit. So we are end user, not only we human beings, but animals, birds, fishes, all the marine species, all that. And the carpenter, like the maker of the world, has to be a conscious being, and that he gives a name, say Ishwar. And then he says, Ishwar must have made out of something. He cannot make it out of nothing. Otherwise, this visible world couldn't be there. So that thing is called as matter in its very, very fundamental primary state. That has a technical term is Prakriti, but in Vedic terminology it has other names like Arnava, Swadha, Maya. There are many more names in the Vedas, but all this means a kind of an ocean of matter, but that is not quite in a particulate form. It is just an ocean which is spread over everywhere. So this gives rise to three primary entities, namely Ishwar, the maker of the universe, who has the intelligence, design in his mind, who is also the source of all the knowledge, and who has the ability to act upon matter and make all sorts of things. And matter works under the overall authority of Ishwar. Prakriti works like that and submits to itself. Of course, then it is governed by the natural laws of physics, and he is the governing principle, that Ishwar, because he has the knowledge what is the right laws for the matter to behave. The gravitational law, nuclear forces, all that. He is kind of lawmaker and also maker of the universe so that it is sustained. It's just he doesn't make it and gets away. He continues to operate it in a particular manner so that the earth is going around the sun. There is a day and night in 24 hours. 12 months have all kinds of seasons and things like that. We are all familiar with it. And then it is for all of us, animals, other species all included. So we are like end user, is it not? So that three entities in that case of wooden desk was carpenter made the desk out of wood for an end user. Now it becomes Ishwar makes the whole universe out of Prakriti, matter, for all the conscious beings. And so that is also, we will say, is a conjecture, at best a hypothesis. In strict scientific term, we cannot say it is definitely that way, is it not? So that is what is आर्य समाज प्रिंसिपल नंबर 1 is saying, सब सत्य विद्या और जो पदार्थ विद्या से जाने जाते हैं उन सब का आदि मूल परमेश्वर. Means that entity Parameshwar is the original source of all the knowledge and all the things that is there. The knowledge is nothing but how a particular things behave, is it not? Like a cloud, the whole cloud physics is nothing but behavior, formation of clouds, its other behavioral pattern, and also how water gets condensed and then how it falls down, is it not? So this is all according to the design of that Ishwar. So the whole knowledge related to the clouds, which scientists are trying to discover and explore, is nothing but that has come from Ishwar. So Ishwar has the knowledge, like carpenter had the knowledge, then only he made the desk accordingly. So Ishwar is the source of, that's what we say, Om Mitancha Satyancha Viddha Tapaso Adhyajayate, isn't it? So the universe is Satya. It is following certain ground principles which are Hit, and Ishwar makes it out of his knowledge, that is called Iddha, and action what he does is called Tapas. So Iddha and Tapas are knowledge and action of that Ishwar, because his action is very unusual. He is not like carpenter. Carpenter has to use his hands to fetch a piece of wood. But Ishwar is everywhere, so he doesn't need a hand, he doesn't need any tools. He is within a big particles. So he just has to, he just has to push the particle from inside. He doesn't apply force from outside. That's why he has another name, Vishwa. He is sitting inside everything. So then finally we have second principle of Arya Samaj, Ishwar Sachidanand Swarup, and there are many 20 plus attributes of his, but it ends with उसी की उपासना करनी योग्य है. So that is what is the evidence of that Ishwar, So in first and second principle, there is conjecture has been made. And that first principle is more about, this is Parameshwar. Parameshwar is one who is there even when universe is not there, is it not? So Param is beyond, is it not? And then in second principle, Dayanand uses the term Ishwar. Ishwar is called as Shabal Brahm. Shabal Brahm means, Parameshwar is Par Brahm, an entity who is there whether universe is there or not, because he is always there. The Sabal Brahm is when I see the world, oh, the clouds give me filtered in. So I say, Ishwar must be very wonderful. He gives me, I pollute all kinds of water, but he gives me back clean filtered water. So I see some events in the universe and I make a conjecture that Ishwar must be like this, this, this. So when I see something happening in the universe and make a inference that Ishwar must be Nayaka, Ishwar is everywhere. If he was visible, then I couldn't see other things, so he must be Nayaka. So these are inferences, is it not? And these inferences are being made from the visible world. And then it is Ishwar. So, this is a very semantics. Parmeshwar is a very subtle entity. Ishwar is Parmeshwar in action, so to say. Is that okay? And then Dayanand is making a lot of attributes of Ishwar, but all these are inferences, is it not? These are called Anuman Pramana. Anuman is inference, which is not 100% equal to Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha is direct perception, is it not? So, like I may say, I see this soot behind a hill, so I say there must be a fire. That is a reasonable inference because there can be, but somebody at the end of the day will say, what is the direct evidence? Is it not? So direct evidence is one who is on the other side of the hill. He can see the fire. I am on the other side. I can just make a inference, but inference is always weaker than direct because I have no idea how big are the flames, what is the area the fire is spread over. One who is having direct perception, he has the full knowledge about it. So Anuman Pramana is called as only Samanya, general characteristics. I cannot know the specifics of it, is it not? So Pratyaksha is very powerful. That takes me to the specifics. So that is what Dayanand is then saying at the end. Usi ki upasana karne yogya hai. So when I am direct with him, like a child in his mother's lap, then I get a direct evidence that yes, this is what he is. So, so the question was, what is three-in-one principle in the Vedic semantics? So Vedic semantics is saying that if the universe exists, there has to be Ishwar, there has to be Prakriti, and there has to be these three things. All the things are originating from these causes, but these three things themselves are causeless. They cannot be treated as an effect. You will see it. If one is missing, then the world cannot come into existence. If Ishwar is not there, no story. If the Prakriti is not there, like wood is not there, then how can carpenter make the desk? If the end user is not there, why should Ishwar make it? Is it not? So these three things have to be there at the start. And if somebody insists, no, who made Ishwar? Then we have to imagine, okay, there was a Super Ishwar. But then somebody will say, who made Super Ishwar? So, this is ad infinitum. There is no new knowledge gained and it just goes on, is it not? So, Vedic philosophy is very, says these are three entities at the starting point. They are themselves without any